Good afternoon, everyone. This is Dr. T. Lawrence. It's been a while, but I'm back. Today, I wanted to get together and have a conversation and speak about some social issues that continue to present itself. Today's topic, I have a few guests in the room. I have Daryl and I have Jason. And the reason why we're here, we wanted to talk about the overall fathers and fathers' presence in the African American and the Black community. We wanted to speak more about it, like what does it mean, what's happening in the world now, and just to get a personal take from different people in our community who can speak relative to their own personal experiences. So I'll start off right now with fathers and what does father's presence mean to you? Who would like to go first?
You can go ahead, Daryl.
Okay. Well, father's presence to me is very important. I came up in a home where my father was present. He was involved. And but then I experienced also where at a point as I became a young teenager, he was not. And I seen the difference. I seen the difference from when he was there and when he wasn't there. My take on it, my take on fathers being present in the home or just in the life of their children is very important because I've had a child at a young age, 15, where it was still, you need your mother, but then you need your family to just help you delegate through just how to go about being a young parent. And all I was just taught is just to be there. And being there allowed me to see that how important it is because it comes with just a lack of just guidance, just being out there and not having the support. So when you have a child that has both their parents, especially their dad, because we bring the backbone and the strength to things a lot of the times, the mothers are not weaker. They may not stay stern on things or put their feet down on certain things that dad would. So, and same vice versa with a mother, dads wouldn't be able to understand what a mother go through. So it's just very important that you be in your child's life and just teach them how to just love and be respected, whether it's a woman or whether it's, a young girl or whether it's a young boy. Just teach them how to respect and respect women or teach the woman how to respect herself and others. So it's just very important to me to be in your child's life.
Okay, thank you, Daryl. You brought up some points there. You mentioned for father's presence for you, it wasn't, if you noticed, Jason, and you could comment and talk about it as well. At no point did he mention financial matters, but in the African American and the Black community, financial is what is destroying the family unit because financial becomes like the main thing when it comes to the father and what his purpose is. But Daryl, what you mentioned was like actually physically being present, whether it was
Right.
in the household or outside the household. And I do strongly, I'm not going to say I feel, I already did the research that the presence of the father is not just based on a financial component. It's also connected to you actually being engaged with your child, whether it's in the home or outside the home. And that doesn't get so much attention in the news. We get more swarmed with the fact of the child support issues. So I think that's a very valid point of understanding how can a father be present, because some people tend to think it's always financial. Jason, you have a thought on what he was saying, and what's your thoughts of father's presence?
I agree with a lot of points that he made. I believe a father in the household creates balance as far as parenting goes. Um, because it's when it's a single parent household, whether the father's the primary parent or the mother's a primary parent, it's still a lot. It's a lot to raise a child. You know what I mean? And a child needs some type of balance. So I believe a father and a mother create that balance of parenting. And yes, I believe a father should be in their children's lives and not just seen as finance or just because there's a lot of times where the father's in the house and he's just a provider and he's not there for his children emotionally. You know what I mean? And that's a big part. That's a big part because people always want to focus on the father not being in the house, which happens very often in the Black community. But just because y'all are not in the same house does not mean the father isn't present in that child's life. You know what I mean? Sometimes a separate household is better because sometimes the mother and father can't get along, and they'll present more toxic relationships as opposed to being separate. You know what I mean? And and sometimes and I grew up without a father, but I had a strong family structure. So my uncle played the father figure, or he played a strong male, the male role model. From me just understanding what a man is supposed to be. So technically, you don't need the biological father. I mean, it's great if it works out like that, but children just need a strong male presence. You know what I mean? And I think that would also help them to grow, to grow into, you know, um, grow into the adults they aspire to be when it comes to raising children. But yeah, for the most part, that's what it is.
Yeah, you mentioned about balance, and you also mentioned about just having a strong role model, and research shows that it's basically. Did you know that your belief of how you view your father sometimes could get you many years ahead in life versus the toxic environment of mother and father not getting along? Just your positive belief of your biological father could take you places, or the biological belief of the relationship that you want to have with your dad could take you places. So you have some people who tend to kind of like put a little hamper on who their father is because maybe a background, because maybe it's just not in the good light. But according to research, like African American kids per se, even though they didn't live with their dad, those little moments they had with their dad, whether it was one time, two times, was part of what kind of gave them hope. And it's just showing that when it comes to African American males, they tend to aim on just knowing someone is looking out for them. You mentioned like maybe you have a strong family support and it's not good to like just have this toxic environment. But the strong family support, even if you're in the household or outside the household, they have a lot to do with us as parents. As parents, we have to have what Jason mentioned again, is that balance of like understanding what relationships will impact your child. Your relationship with the mother of your child, your relationship with your other children, all has an impact on how that child views you as a father. And it actually creates what your relationship would be like with that child, believe it or not, especially in the African American community. The woman kind of dictates the relationship the father will have with the child. Do you agree with that? Yes or no?
Are you talking about the woman dictates the role that the kids play with the father?
Yes, the woman has a big influence on the relationship between the father and the child of that woman.
Um,
Do you
I
agree
I
with
I I would say so. I would say so because a lot of times, there's no manual, no perfect manual into raising kids. But what I've noticed um is that the relationship the man has with the woman will be based on the relationship he has with the woman is basically, is how he's gonna move forward with being a parent, a father to those children. Say for instance, if the dynamic of the relationship between the mother and father is always they're always together. You understand what I mean? Once they're always together and they're helping raising the kid together, once they don't see eye to eye and they break up, sometimes that man will break off the relationship with his children because he doesn't have that relationship with the mother anymore.
that? Yeah, that I agree with that. That is correct. But I also agree with the fact that depending on who's the primary caregiver, but more so is the woman in the African American community, because if you're not aware of this, the single families has tripled in the last 2 years as far as single family homes in the Black community. With that being said, women are playing their role as a mom, but they may also be playing a role as a dad, voluntary or involuntary, whichever the case. However, the woman's teachings, whatever they are, it impacts your child and the relationship that you may have with the father outside the household. So as a woman, it will be up to a woman to recognize both roles, to know we're both not in the household, but we both have say so in you in raising you. But if that's not recognized, the woman could take the other option, being the primary caregiver, and just focus on her role. And that if she does not have any kind of importance of recognizing the father's role, that relationship of that child and father, it may not be no chance in the future. I don't care how much that dad comes around. You will need the woman to at least recognize you in your role. I don't care if it's a good role or bad role, but just recognize you exist. And I think sometimes we get stuck on not recognizing you exist because of some expectations that's not being attended, such as child support. Any thoughts, Daryl?
I'd say that women have the mother has a big influence on the child because a lot of the times the dads come up in a environment where it wasn't planned to in the Black community. 80% of the Black community dads are younger and they are in an environment that's not conducive to their child or their upbringing. So what happens is that the father, as the men that we are, the providers, we want to leave to do better and provide. And a lot of that times that comes from having to leave the community. And when you have a child with someone that you're not married to, it it goes into a battle. It goes into, well, I don't want my child to go. So now when you leave to do what's best for you, a lot of influence, whether it's bad or good, is coming from the mother to the child. And the mother do have a lot of control in a sense because the child is with the mother every day, but you're saying, well, I'm here, I'm going to be there, whether you're there physically or whether it's just on the phone. The mother that's there and that's always there taking care of the child will always be able to put that seed in the child's head. So regardless of what you may say, the child always has a stronger bond with the mother. But now, if this is a home where you guys are married or you guys have a certain bond and she respects you, and she's not going to allow the distractions of people, the world, social media, what's the typical thing to do when you're not involved with your man. You keep your child away, or you do things to upset him, but really what it's doing is affecting the child. So women has a lot of influence on the child because they're primarily there. And with them being primarily there, it's hard for the father to explain to the child what they're doing, because the child is primarily with the mother and just listening to all the negatives, the see he's not here, or you may have missed a phone call. So it's a lot when you're the primary parent and you have more time being around the child. It does take a toll, but it is an influence on the child, whether it's good or bad. So I feel that the mom does have an influence on the child, whether to respect the dad or whether to love your dad or whether to know that he's in your life. A lot of times it comes when you have conversations down the line, it'll be, well, my mother said this and I was told this. And that's where the disconnect comes in. The disconnect comes in with the, oh, but my mother had told me this. So
Right.
I do agree with you, Dr. Lawrence, on just the whole influence on children it's the same way when it's the other way around. The dad is just always the person that's there, and he may not say positive things, so the child feeds off of that.
Correct.
So it's all it's a guideline. It has to be a mutual understanding, and a respect.
Right. You brought up a lot of good points. So I want you to definitely give me information on what I'm about to ask. And my question is, how do fathers in general do better as far as being present? What can they do to do better? And what would be the message you would give to fathers and also to mothers? Like, how can we do better as a community? We definitely should accept the fact that there are many different kinds of families, but that does not take away from your role as a parent. But how can we do better? Jason, what's your goal?
I believe we could do better. When, like I said, it creates, having a mother and a father, in the child's life creates balance. And balance needs to be, needs to be spread across the board. You know what I mean? Like, for instance, like you said, the woman dictates the role. I mean, dictates the relationship that the child has with the father.
Right.
So I believe that the mother needs to instill in the father, if he doesn't already have this already in him, instilled in him, that he has to do things independently with his children. You understand what I mean? Like, I think too many fathers get comfortable with the mother being there. Like, for instance, if we're in a house together, and the mother is just doing everything with the children, while the father's there, he's there physically, but he's just not there emotionally, or you know what I mean? Like, or if it's even little things like taking the kids to the movies or taking the kids to the park or doing stuff like that. The father has to get used to doing things like that by himself. You know what I mean? So therefore, your parenting skills aren't based off of it isn't based off the mother just being there. Because if y'all happen to break up, he's gonna be so used to leaving the kids with you. I mean, with the woman. You know what I mean? And that's a big reason why a lot of fathers aren't there, and they end up just being on child support, and they just, and that's why a lot, some women, put that in their kids' head that, your father ain't this, your father ain't that, which is wrong. I don't think a woman should ever do that, and vice versa. If you don't have a good relationship with the other parent, I don't believe that you should put that on a child or let the child, into, I guess, get into the mess that y'all have to get, between each other. Like, let the child think for himself. I don't think a woman should ever keep the child away from the father, no matter how often he sees the child. You know what I mean? Like, if a child is asking questions about the father, or vice versa, don't lie for that. Don't lie to the children. You know what I mean? You tell that child, you have to ask him when you see him. You know what I mean? Let them build that relationship together. You understand what I mean? So that way you can't, I don't believe a woman should dictate the relationship between the child and the father. I don't think that. I think you should let the child do that on their own.
That's a really great point. But you know what? But what I also hear when you say that they shouldn't dictate is that you really recognize the roles that people play as parents. And sometimes I feel like the accountability of educating yourself for what a parent should look like, not basing it on maybe our trauma of what parent we probably had during our upbringing, kind of helps the situation. Like, wait a second, I'm about to enter a new world, just like a job or anything else. I'm becoming a parent. What does a parent look like? What am I supposed to really do for this child? What expectations am I going to have for myself moving forward for this little one that's in this world right now? And then it allows you to like see differently. Another thing you brought up was accountability on the father's end. It's like, what is a father? What is fathers? What are you here for? You're not just here to pay a bill. That's like in the earlier days where the fathers went out to work, the moms stayed home and they focus on the nurturing. It's different. Both of us are kind of getting that input when it comes to the child, as far as like raising that child from an emotional standpoint, physical, mental, spiritual, if you want to go there, religious, like developmental. I just gave you like 6 things. And kids come out okay, but I think sometimes we get caught up of thinking like parenting is only this. And everybody have their different views on what a parent is. And it's no one is wrong, no one is right. I just think sometimes people need to recognize, am I limiting my child? Am I growing them? And am I allowing both there? Because as a doctor and having a lot of people who are adults now, a lot of them is like I'm taking them back to childhood, or just taking them back to moments of like understanding abandonment, understanding why did I not have this involvement with my parent, whether it's a female or a male. Just the fact of blaming themselves and resenting existing because of their childhood, or just being put in situations because they were in situations where their parents couldn't be fit and they could say, you have more kids. It's just kind of like, when do we take accountability for ourselves as parents and kind of look at the fact like, you know what, if I'm going to be a dad, I need to know as a father, if I'm going to be a dad, this is what I want to do with my child to help grow them in these different ways that I just mentioned. If I'm going to be a mom, this is what I want to do with my child in order to, in this way. And I need to know if I make a mistake, that I should correct my behavior, not keep repeating my behavior. So I think you brought up a good point as far as like making people think that your job is just to pay the bills. And no, your job is just also to play ball with that child, is to maybe sit there and do that homework every so often. Also, just to converse, have a conversation with your child, figure out what's happening. Because even though it may not happen as often, the fact that a child can say they have 2 parents, it goes a long way. Just that belief of knowing someone cares for me that's older than me, that had. So yeah, Dara, what's your thoughts? I could go on and on about this. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. What did you say?
No, I said, what's your thoughts? I know I probably.
Oh well, my thoughts on is really my experience, my experiences as a young dad, and being there and being a provider. I go through it. It's been going for a while now, where it was a lot of just a lot of how can I say the word? I can't say misunderstanding, but just a lot of immaturity. So that takes a big role in having a child with a woman as well. Is the maturity level, is the friendship. I feel that building a friendship and how can we make the change in the community is just having that friendship, and sometimes doing it the old school way, where we take those proper steps to show our child this is how we did it. We did it where we was married, we built the friendship, we had an understanding with each other. So now what happens is that when we come to not seeing eye to eye, we're able to co-parent without being violent, or without having to downplay the dad or the mom. So a lot of changes come from also the community, what people are saying on the outside. So you have to know who you're having the child with. So I feel that change come with taking our time and building each other, and just building a friendship, and then building a family comes, and it allow us to have a better understanding with each other. We're able to raise the child as we should, without the courts involved, or violence, or anything in that sort. So the change have to come, and can happen if we just take the time to just be friends, and not meet a girl in the club, have sex with her, and then we had a baby. So a lot of that, that's how a lot of that happens, through just one night stands. And when you hear in the Black community, it didn't happen because they wanted it to happen. It was, it's always just happened. And a lot of time when you and having your cranium, it just happened, your mindset is already set that whatever you do is good enough. So you feel that, I just called, so it's good. But then it's not, because you're not building that relationship, but you didn't build the relationship with the mother. So you're looking at it like, well, I didn't build a relationship with the mother. I just met her, and then now she's talking about she's pregnant. It's a lot of those kids out there.
Right.
And they get the backlash. They have to go through the separation, the disconnect, due to the fact that they parents met in an uncompromising situation, or it wasn't meant. And a lot of that comes with, we didn't connect. It was just a physical attraction. And now I don't like you, I can't stand you. And what us men do is we say, you know what? I don't even know you, or I just met you, or we don't even have that bond. That's not my child. And once we go with, that's not my child, it puts now another number in the community, whereas another child that is going to be lack of a father. Because if you look at the street that you live on, you have to look at your neighbors, you have to look at the people in your environment. And when you look at your environment, it's hustlers, it's bustlers, it's weed selling, it's drugs. Look at the environment that you're raising your child in. And so it's hard to make change, because the father is so caught up into wanting to provide, and he's so caught up in the streets. So it's like, I don't have time to spend with the baby. So it really takes understanding, knowledge, wisdom, and just building that friendship to bring change in the Black community with kids that we're bringing into the society now. It comes with just building a friendship, understanding, and just knowing that we are here to bring the next generation in, and our Are we going to be failures, or are we going to be successful in bringing a child into this world? And a lot of times that take both. So with the parents not both being or seeing eye to eye, it brings destruction, and it don't allow change because we're disconnected. So again, change can come, but change only happens when you're in an environment that's conducive, that's healthy. When you're not in an environment that's not healthy, that's when the distractions come about. And when you're in that place where it's just a lot of distraction, the disconnect comes. But when you're in a neighborhood where it's working class or middle class, or even it could just be the hood, but just having a connection. So it don't necessarily have to be the class, but having the connection is everything, because as long as you have that connection, and you may say, no, you can't go outside right now, I need you back in at this time, but the mother say this because she's street. So a lot of that comes with the connect and knowing who you having the child with. Once you have that understanding and you guys are both here eye to eye and have that understanding and that relationship, I feel that and if it's 5 of us that feel the same way, we can only build a community of entrepreneurs, doctors, lawyers, nurses, mailmen's, garbage men's, because we have the connection. So a lot of times it's the disconnect is because of the environment and the community and the relationship.
Wow, that was a lot of excellent points. Jason, you wanted to say something? Go ahead.
I agree with a lot of what you said, but a big thing that you didn't say, a main thing,
yes,
that a lot of people lack, that a lot of couples lack in raising kids, is sacrifice. You know what I mean? A lot of times they forget about the whole sacrifice aspect of it. You know what I'm saying? Just like how you were saying with, they got to be friends. They have to, make a commitment to raise this child to the best of their abilities, to play their roles into raising this child, but I've seen a lot of my friends, have relationships with these women for years, and everything is good until they have a baby. You know what I mean? Because once you have a child, you're not living for yourself anymore. And a lot of people don't understand that. You know what I mean? And a lot of people don't live by that. And once you lose focus of that, that's when a lot of things can start just snowballing downhill. You know what I mean?
But you know what, Jason, I think that also goes hand in hand with our own personal values, and and it goes back to upbringing, of course, but our own personal values. And it's just also knowing that just because we weren't probably dealt the better hand doesn't mean that you cannot grow from it. Sometimes we tend to live in our trauma. We live in our trauma a lot, and versus taking our trauma and making it a strength for ourselves. And if you do that, I don't know if you ever heard of Adlerian theory, but the whole thought is that as an individual, you're aiming to figure out who yourself is amongst. And it could be among the community, among just your family unit, just among. So if you focus on looking at it from that standpoint, your childhood of toxicity won't be recognized as what it is. It'll be like, I was among this, but now I want to be among that. So I'm aiming to be among something else, which continues to start allowing you to build personal values for yourself, where you won't be in these situations where I'm having a baby from the one night stand, or I'm raising 5 kids in this community where I don't even like to live in this community. And it goes back to accountability. It's like, we can't always, it's not about having the better or the lesser than. It's just really having the foundation of the thoughts in your head of knowing what's right, what's wrong, and doing your best at it to make it better for oneself. Or, and everybody have their different views on stuff, but I just think sometimes we have to reinstitute what would be more important to raise a healthy child. Like what should we focus on more when it comes to raising a healthy child? Does that mean that the child needs to be in the married home? Maybe. Does it mean they need to be in a home with two parents? Maybe. Or does it just mean that this child needs to be given what they need? Love, emotional support, the attention, how to learn how to walk or say a couple of words, and all of that plays the part of a healthy individual growing up and having balance. But if we ourselves as parents get caught up in just recognizing a child as, I can't even say the recognition of a child, of just not being accountable of what that role means, then I think that's where we will keep like repeating the cycle. So
Absolutely.
yeah, so that's just my thoughts there. And I just wanted to also close this out by saying father's presence does not necessarily mean that you must be in the household. You do not have to be in the household to be present as a father. You can be present as a father by a phone call, by engaging with your child, picking your child up, even sending something in the mail, that quality time with them, just a conversation, your child even believing that you exist. And sometimes monetary support helps as well. So there is really no reason why fathers cannot be present in this day and age, especially knowing that there are mostly single parent homes in the African American community. And there's nothing wrong with it. It's just like you just have to do a little bit more and not just focus on the financial status of it. So any other closing thoughts before we end, guys? I think it was a great conversation. I hope you guys enjoyed it.
Sorry about that.
That's fine. Any other closing thoughts? Otherwise, we'll end here.
No, you can. The only thing that I could say is that I appreciate you allowing me to join and give my take on being a dad and what it takes to be a dad and how we can be better dads, and just we need more of this so we can come together and just be able to just elaborate and put some ideas together, and some things gentlemen just had said as well has resonated with me. And it takes a community, it takes a group of us to come together to make change. So I just want to thank you for allowing me to be a part of this, and I would love to be a part of future more meetings like this, and just just group talks like this to just put guys together to be able to know that it's very important to be in your child's life. Like right now, as I'm sitting here, you see a gentleman, he's actually walking in with his child, and he's by himself. He's always by himself with his child. But it just go to show you that there are good men there. Like literally, if I flip the computer around, he's literally like right here. You don't see too much of that. So if you can continue doing this, Mika, and we collectively just put our thoughts together and our opinions together, and even if it may not be the right way we may feel, but just to hear it and hear other people experiences, it helps a lot to better the community and also help oneself be a better man and a better dad to just move forward.
No, not a problem. And I appreciate both of your time to actually give your thoughts and opinion, because it's one thing to research, but it's also making sure you're connected to what people are personally feeling at that present moment. So I think it was a great conversation, and we'll probably do more conversations about fathers, because it's always a social issue that's pressing. And it's always looking at it from the standpoint of the negative impact. And I wanted to start focusing on more of the positive impact of the fathers that are just present, regardless of what kind of household it is, to see what benefits that has on a child. And it does have great benefit on children believing better for themselves and wanting more for themselves in general. Okay? So it's cool, guys. Thanks for talking on my channel.
Thank you.
This is Dr. T. Lawrence again. where we all grow together. You had one more thing, Daryl?
No,
Okay.
I thought I did, but it's nothing. It's
All
nothing.
right. All right. Well, we all grow together. Take care.
Thank you. Take care. Nice to meet you, brother.